Hey guys, welcome. In this course, we will learn how to build a complete website with the help of HTML5 and CSS3. You'll learn some of the basic elements of HTML, and we'll also learn some of the semantic elements of HTML5. With the help of CSS, we'll see how we can style our website. And with the help of CSS3, we'll see how to build a responsive design for our website, and also we'll see how we can add animations to our website. At the end of this course, you'll be able to build a complete website as a project, which will have multiple pages. It will also have a navigation bar with a drop down. We will also see how to create a mega menu in our website. And we'll also see how you can add an image slider. With the help of tables, we will see how we can structure our contents. We'll learn how to include Google Maps in our website. And also we'll see how we can include videos and audios into our website. At the end of the page, in the contact us page, we'll see how we can create a contact form. So there is a lot to learn. Let's get started. What you will need to get started is a PC with internet. You can use Mac, Linux, or Windows, anything is fine. You will need a code editor, Notepad++, Sublime Text, VS Code, brackets, and there are so many other code editors outside, so you can choose any one you like. And you'd obviously require a browser. So in my personal recommendation, I would recommend you to install Chrome. Google Chrome is one of the most famous browsers being used almost worldwide everywhere. A lot of people ask me like which code editor is the best one. So here I have a simple comparison chart from Google Trends. So if you check this out, like what I have done is I have compared all Notepad++, Sublime Text, VS Atom, and brackets, some of the most popular code editors. Now you can check this out that the VS Code has more popularity when compared to other code editors. So if you ask me, VS Code is the best. To download VS Code, just go to Google and type in VS Code. And you'll get the first link. Just click on the VS Code. This will take you to the VS Code website, and based on your operating system, the installer will be selected. So I'm going to click on download for Windows, and your download will start. So what I have done is that I have already downloaded VS Code. It's in my PC. So let's go ahead and install that. I'm going to minimize this. Let's go to my PC. Let's go to downloads, and there I have it. Double click on this one. Click on I accept, next, next, and then make sure you tick on this one. So there is register code as an editor for self-hosted files. So click on this, click on next, and install. Okay, our VS Code is now installed. So let's click on finish. This will launch the VS Code. In case if this is not launched, what you can do is you can go to your start and look for VS Code. And you can select VS Code. That will launch the code editor for you. Now that we have installed VS Code, this is the welcome screen you will see. So let me close this, and you can see this is the structure of my folder where I'll be working. So let me create this project files where I'll be working on. I'm going to go to desktop. Let me create a folder here. I'm going to call this as HTML. And the best thing is you can actually use your VS Code to create folders and files. So you can go to your VS Code, and you can see on the desktop we have this HTML. So what I can do now is I can go to File, Open Folder, and from there in the desktop I can choose HTML and select folder. Now what happened is now my project location is changed from desktop to my HTML folder itself. So here I'm going to create a folder called lesson 1. Okay, and inside this I can create a file. So you can see these icons here. So this is going to be a new file option, this the new folder option, this is the refresh one, and this is the collapse folder. If you have too many files, you can collapse them. So the first file which you'll be working on is index.html. Now make sure that you have the .html selected. So if you don't have the .html selected, then you won't have that HTML file thing. You won't be able to launch that in the browser. So once you have this file selected, so what you can do now is you can right click here and you can copy the path. And now let's go to our browser, and in the browser, in the address bar, just right click here and paste the path and just hit enter. and you will have your document over here. So currently we can't see anything. That's because you have not written anything. So let's go back to our code editor and let's write something. I'm going to call this as hello world. Okay, let me save that and let's get back to our browser and hit refresh. Okay, we got hello world. Writing code directly inside the HTML without the markup is really not recommended. So instead we need to have a proper structure of our website. So let's get started how to build that. So first thing what you need is a doc type declaration. So I'm using the HTML5 doc type, so it's going to be HTML and that's it. So this is a declaration, document declaration for HTML5. The next thing what you would need is a HTML tag. So you can just type in HTML and close that. So one of the best things about VS Code is that it automatically closes the tag for you. So if you see this / sign beside a HTML text or HTML tag, that is a closing tag. Right after that, what we can do is we can open up a head tag, and inside that we can type in some title. So I'm going to show you what this title actually do, and right now let me just go back to the browser and show you what's actually happening. You can see that right now the document title says index.html, but what we need is a specific name for our document. So I'm going to name this as home, and right after this I'm going to specify a meta tag, and I'm going to specify a name for this meta. That's going to be description. Okay, it will have some content. I'm just going to give this. And now once I have that, the next one what I need is the body tag. So you can just type in body, and all the things like all the headings, paragraphs, images, links, what you will be adding in the further classes, you will be completely working inside the body tag that is over this area. So now let me explain you how this thing actually works. Now this is the complete HTML5 document structure. So there is an easier way to create this. If you can't remember this, you can just get rid of this entire thing and just type in HTML, and you can see that we have a context menu here that specifies HTML5. Select the HTML5 abbreviation and click on enter. Okay, now we have the complete skeleton of our HTML. Okay, now what we need to do is we need to create a simple hello world page. So I'll say hello world. Okay, let me save that. Let's get back to our browser and hit refresh. Now we have our page with the title document. So what is this document title? And if you can see here, we have the title called document, and I'm going to specify another one called meta, and I'm going to specify this in name as description. And I'll give some content to it. That's going to be this. Now you check out this thing. If you see this title document over here and this description, and now let me show you where does this actually come useful. So if you go to Google and look for web design wiki, okay, you see this thing, this blue color highlighting here, that is our title tag. And if you can see this thing, what we have here, a small description, is actually the description what you will be writing in your code. We have created our hello world page. Now I want to add some more text to our document. Let's go back to our code, and here in the next line I'm going to type in welcome to the world of code. Okay, let me save that. Let's get back to your browser and hit refresh. See what happened? The text came right beside the hello world. So what we need to do is we need to break this line. We want the welcome to the world of code, the text in the next line. So one way of doing this is right after this hello world text, you're going to write in the BR tag. So let me save this. So BR stands for break tag. So if I get back and hit refresh, see, that comes to the next line. The next thing what I need is I need a horizontal line right after the hello world. So if I need a horizontal line, all I have to do is just type in HR. So that's an horizontal line tag. So if I get back to my browser and hit refresh, you can see now that I have an horizontal line. So let's just say that I want to create something. I'm going to create another HR tag, and here I will say hello world. Now you can see that they're kind of like very close to each other. So if I get back to my browser and hit refresh, okay, that's very close to each other. I need to give some space, but I can't give an extra space like this. That's gonna just add in a single space. If I hit refresh, you can see that's just a single space. But I want this a little bit far ahead. So one of the way of doing this is you can just get rid of this one and give one space. So here we'll specify ampersand NBSP. That stands for non-breaking space. So I'm just going to copy this and paste it like around 4 times. So if I save this, get back to my browser and hit refresh, I can see we have some blank spaces. Just like in textbooks, we have headings inside HTML2. We have around 6 types of headings, starting from H1 to till H6, and then we have a paragraph. Let me show how that looks like. So to type in the first heading, just type in H1 and hit on tab. That's going to give you the first heading. So here I'm going to type in as heading, and if you want to duplicate this, there's a easier way to do it. Just hold Alt and Shift and just hit the drop down button in your keyboard. So then we have on 3, 4, 5 and 6. We have also multi-line editing inside VS Code. So you can click on this one and hold Alt and click on the other one. So you can see now 2 code have been highlighted together. So I'm going to remove this, change to H2, let's go to H3, and it's going to be H4, H5, and then we have H6. So these are the different types of headings. So let me show you how this thing looks like inside the browser. Let me save this. Let's go to our browser and hit refresh. See, H1 being the largest heading and H6 being the smallest one. Let me show you how to create a paragraph. So you can just type in P, that creates a paragraph, also called as phrase tag. So inside that, I'm going to type in lorem. So lorem is a dummy text. You can always use it. So once you type in lorem, just hit on the tab key. That's going to automatically fill in some dummy text. So what has happened is that created a huge line which I have to scroll. So I'm going to break this into multiple lines. So I'm going to click here, one here, another one here. Yeah, I think this is much enough. So I can go back to my browser and hit refresh. You can see this is my text, and then we have some headings. Every text inside the HTML some point needs to be formatted. So I'm going to show you how to format your text inside this document. So let me create a paragraph tag, and inside this I'm going to type in some lorem. Okay, so we have some dummy text here. I'm going to get back to my browser and hit refresh. Okay, we have some text here. So what I need to do is I need to add some formatting over here. So let's get back to our code, and let me get this over here, and let me break this first. Okay, I think that's fine. Okay, so here what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a bold tag. So I'm just going to say B, and here I will say I am a bold tag or bold text. We save that. If you get back to your browser and hit refresh, you can see that's a bold text. Now there's something similar when it comes to HTML5. So let's get back to the code, and right after this I'm going to type in a strong tag. I will say I am a strong text. Save that. Let's get back to the browser and hit refresh. See, totally no difference. They look completely alike. The next we have an italic tag. So I'm going to type in I, and I'll say I am a italic text. We save that. Let's get back to the browser and hit refresh. You can see it's inclined now. Okay, the same way we have an HTML5 element called emphasize. So I'll say em. I am just inclined. Okay, I think that's enough. So let's get back to the browser and hit refresh. You can see totally no difference. That looks exactly the same. Okay, so these are the 2 most famous text formatting you can use inside your document. So I'd get back to our code, and let's create some more formatting. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a BR tag here. So let me break that line so that we can add some more formatting here. Okay, so let's just say I want to underline something. So you can say U, and then I can simply type in I am an underlined text. Okay, let me save that. Let's get back to the browser and hit refresh. You can see we have a text which is underlined. I'm going to do the same thing inside HTML. In HTML we have something called INS, which is inserted. So I'll say I am just here. Let me save that. Let's get back to the browser and hit refresh. See, exactly the same. The next one, is a good one. So I'm going to create a BR tag. So you'll be using this a lot. So you might have gone to Amazon or any other shopping cart site. You might see a sale specifying that it was before this much price, now the price is this much, but the before price would have a strike through to it. So you're going to see how to create that one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to simply say S, that's a strike tag, and here I'm going to say around RS, say 25, 1000. Let me save this, and if I get back to my browser and hit refresh, you can see that has been struck there. The same way we have another one inside HTML5, we have DEL tag, that's for delete. So I will say RS, I'll say 35, 1, 2, 3, and save. So if I get back to my browser and hit refresh, see that also looks exactly the same. Links are one of the most important parts of HTML. With the help of links, we can navigate from one page to another page. Let me show you how you can create a link inside HTML. So in HTML, links are actually called as anchor text. So to create that, all you have to do is type in A and hit on the tab key. See, we have an attribute here. You can see something that adds up with a starting tag of your text is basically an attribute. So this is the attribute and it's asking me for some value. So let me just type in www.google.com, and inside this I can type in Google. So if I save this and get back to my browser and hit on refresh, you can see now my Google is linked to a google.com page. So if I click on this, that's going to give me an error message. Now you have to read the error messages which you see in your web page. So basically it's here saying that your file was not found. If you look at the URL here, it says that it is looking for www.google.com inside my lesson 4 document, but google.com is not a file, it's a hypertext transfer protocol. So let's get back to our code, and here we're gonna add in https://. So this will create a link for my text Google. So let's get back to our page and let's hit refresh. Before that, let's get back, and now let's hit refresh. So now if I take my cursor here and click on that, so that's gonna take me to the google.com. But what if I want the user to stay on my page but still open the google.com in a separate tab? We can do that with the help of anchor tags. So let's get back here. All we have to do is just add in an extra attribute. So this attribute is called as target. So we're gonna specify this as target_blank. So what this does is it tells the link that if the user clicks on the Google text, open this link in a new tab. Let me show how this thing works. Let me save this, get back to the browser, and let me get back to our file. Let's hit refresh. Now if I take my cursor here and click on that, see, that opens up Google in a new tab. Working with nested links can be a little difficult. So in this class, I'm going to show you how you can link pages which are inside another folder. For example, what I have done here is I've created a folder called pages, and if I open that, you can see there are like 2 more pages inside. It says page 1 and page 2. If I open, you can see it simply says a heading called page 1, and if I open page 2, it simply says page 2. That's it. That's also in H1. So what we're going to do is in the index.html over here, we're going to connect with that page. So let me get rid of this, and I'm going to name this page as the home page. So I'll say H1, and then I'll simply call this as home page. Let me save that. And about this, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create some anchor text. So I will say A, and I want to connect to that page. So if you want to find out how many pages do you have inside your folder, just hold Ctrl and hit on the space bar. So that will show you that it has a folder called pages. So let me open that, and inside that I have page 1. So let me select that one. So this page is actually page 1. Okay, let me save that. I'm going to give a space and put a pipe over there. I'm going to create another link, and this one is going to be just hold Ctrl and hit spacebar, and we are going to go inside pages, and we have page 2. Let me name this as page 2. Let me save that. Let me copy this path. Let me get back to our browser, close this, and copy this one, paste it. It's actually the same page, so just had to refresh. So we have a home page, and then we have page 1 and page 2. So let me click on this, and this should take me to my page 1. So if I click on this, okay, we are in page 1. But now the question is, how do I get back? So The only way right now is to hit on the back button. Okay, so let me hit on the back button and let me check out the page 2. Okay, again we have the same issue. We can't go back through the web page. So what we need to do is we need to create a backlink that will take us to the home page. So let me get back to my code, and now what I have to do is I have to go inside the pages and open the page1.html, and here I have to create the back page. So here what I'm going to do is I'm just going to create an anchor tag, and inside this hold control and hit spacebar. Now it only says page 1 and page 2. We do not have the index.html page to go back. So at this time what you're supposed to do is just hit 2 dots, say dot dot, and put a forward slash. That's going to take you out of that particular folder. So now we can see that we have an index.html page available. So let me click on that, and this is going to be a back button. So I'm going to copy the same link, just copy this, and now let's get back to our page2.html, and I'm going to paste that over here. Let me paste it. I'm going to give some space. Okay, remove some space. Okay, let me save that. Now let's get back to our page and let's hit on refresh. Now I can see I have a back button. If I click on that, that should take me to the home page. Great, we are on the home page. Let's go to page 1, go back, and page 2, and we can go back. So this is how easy it is to create a navigation with the help of anchor text. There are two types of list when it comes for HTML. We have ordered list and then we have unordered list. Let me show you what that actually means. I'm going to create an h3 tag. I'm going to call this as ordered lists. So here what we'll do is we're going to use an OL tag. So basically that means ordered list. So inside that I'm going to specify an li. I'm going to call this as 1. Let me create 2 and say 3. Let me create another one called 4. So let's see how that kind of looks like inside the web page. I'm going to copy the path. Let's go to the browser, select this one, and if I hit refresh, there it is. So basically what happens here is that we have ordered list. It comes in the counting numbers. We have 1, 2, 3, like that. The same way we have unordered list. I'm going to show how that thing works. So first thing, I'm going to create an horizontal line, and after that I'm just going to copy the entire thing and just paste it here. Now all you have to do is just change the OL to UL. So UL means unordered list. So you will have, instead of numbers, you will have like bullets over here. Okay, so let's just say you want to create nested items inside this. So you have a list, inside that you want a particular list of items. Let me show you how you can create that. I'm going to create another horizontal line. I'm going to say UL, I'll say LI, I'll say 1, and inside this I want more items. So what I can do is I can hit enter and say UL again, and inside this I can specify the list of items I need. So instead of 1, 2, 3, I'm going to say here, say bikes and cars, say trucks. Okay, and after this I'm going to get back to my normal listing. So it's going to be 2, 3, and then we have 4. Let me save this and let me show how that looks like inside the browser. If I hit refresh, you can see that's kind of nested over here. Same thing can be done with the help of ordered list also. So I'm just going to copy this one, and right below this let me create another HR tag, and inside this what we'll do is we'll just copy these items, and after the 3 here I'm just going to paste this. So now that is listed inside this. Let me save this one. Let's get back here and hit refresh. I can see how that thing looks like. A website without images really doesn't look that nice. So in this class we are going to see how you can add images into our website. To add an image, what I have done is, first thing, I have created a folder here in my lesson number 6 called images, and inside that what I have done is I've added this image called food. So if I open this, you can just check it out how that image looks like. This is the image what I have used, and what we need to do now is we need to display this image into our website. So what we'll do is we'll create an img tag, stands for image, and as soon as I hit tab I have this src and alt. Src stands for the source. So where is the image located? So like I said in the last class, just hold control and hit on spacebar. You will see that there is a folder called images, and inside that we need to add the food image. So let me just save this. Now if I get back to my browser and if I hit on refresh, you can see that I have that food image. So let's just say something went wrong and we did not find the image what we are looking for. So let me just remove this one extension and let me create an error. So if I get back to my browser and if I hit on refresh, you see there's no error displayed. So we need to give some kind of message to the user that there was something there and now that image is gone. So to do that is the reason why we have the alt attribute. So what the alt attribute does is that it will give an alternative name for the image if the image is missing. For example, here I can name this as foot. And if I save this and if I get back to my browser and if I hit on refresh, you can see it shows me foot over there. Alt attributes are very famous when it comes for SEO. So let me check this out. And now when I get back my JPG extension, and if I go to my browser, if I hit refresh, you can see we have the image back as we wanted. Another way of adding an image to your website would be by using a CDN. For example, let's just say we do not have an image inside our folder, but the image is located somewhere in the internet. For example, I'm going to go to pixabay.com, and from here what we'll do is we'll take some image. For example, okay, I'm going to take this one. So if I need this image, what I will do is I'll simply right click here and I can copy the image address, or I can open this file. If I want a larger file, I can just open this one, right click here, and I can copy the image address. So let me copy this image address. Let's get back to our code. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to create a HR tag that's a horizontal line. I'm going to say img, and inside this I'll paste this one. So now I'm going to call this as nature. So if I save this and if I get back to my browser and in my document, if I refresh, it's going to take a moment, but we'll get that image over here. If you ever worked with Excel sheet, you might notice that it has kind of like a table structure. You have number of rows, columns, and everything. The same thing we have it in HTML. We call it as tables. Let me show you how to work with that. So let's say tables. And what we'll do is we'll specify a border for that. I'm going to set it to 1. And basically this adds an extra border for the table. Now we'll specify a tr tag that specifies the table row, and then we'll specify the th, that is the table heading. So we are going to create a simple table for a number of users available in our database. So that's going to be like a serial integer, and we'll specify another th, and we'll give this as name. Another one, say th called email. The next one is going to be th as phone number. So let me save this and let's check it out how that looks like in the browser. If I hit refresh, you can see this is how it displays. Now let's get back and let's add the second row in our table. So to do that, after the tadd tag ends, we'll specify another tr and we say td. td stands for table data. Now we'll specify the serial integer as 1. I'm going to duplicate that. I'm going to name this as John, and the email ID is going to be john@gmail.com. Okay, and we need a phone number, so I'm going to add some dummy phone number, say 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 and 0. Okay, so let me just copy this and paste it again, and we'll call this as 2 and we'll call this as 3. So if I save this and if I get back to my browser, if I hit refresh, you can see this is how the data displays. Now in tables we have a lot more other options which you can work with. For example, let's just say we want to merge these columns over here, what we have. So what we'll do is we'll get back to our code, and the first thing is that we want to merge 1 with everything. So we don't need to specify 2 over here. We can get rid of this 2 here and 3 2. So let's remove this. Let's get back to our browser. If I hit refresh, you can see there'll be an extra base column which is empty. Now we need to move these items here and to merge with the 1. So you can get back to your code, and here we'll specify row span, and we need how many? 3. So that's counting 1 2 and 3. So I'll save this as 3. Let's get back here. If I hit refresh, okay, that's 1. Okay, now we can see that we have John like around repeated many times, so we can merge this one too. So what I want to do is that I want to specify the code and the phone number. So let me get back here, and what we'll do here is we'll specify another td right after this. So I will say td, and I will call this as +91. Okay, let's just add this everywhere. So I'm just going to copy this and paste it here and then paste it here. Let me save this and let's get back to our file and hit refresh. Now what we have to do is we need to merge the this one with our phone number. So what we'll do is we'll get back to our code, and you can see here that we have a phone for the th. We'll specify as call span and we'll set it to 2. Let's save that. We have set it to 2 because we want to merge like 2 columns. If I hit refresh, there it is merged. Forms are basically used to collect information from the user. Let me show you how to create a form. So when I type in form and I hit on tab button, you can see that we get this action thing. I'm going to get rid of this for now. I'm going to show you what that is later. So after this, what I'm going to do is inside that I'm going to type in input, type is text, and right after that I'm going to type in input, type is submit. So when I save this, basically what I have done is I have created 2 fields for the user to do something. One which collects the information, next is a submit button. So let me get back to the browser and let me hit on refresh. Now you can see that we have a input field and a submit button. So if the user types in his name and when he hits on submit button, check out what happens in the URL. If I hit on submit button, see nothing. We just get this question mark, nothing else more. Let me remove this and let me show you this again. Okay, this is how we get the file, but when you type in the name and when I hit on the submit button, see nothing happens. You just get a question mark. So basically any data which is sent from the form is sent through a URL. So let's see how we can work with that one. So let's get back to our code. In forms, we have 2 types of methods. We have a get method and we have a post method. I'm going to show you how these things work. So by default, your form is set to a get method. So we'll say method is get. So let me save this. And after this, we need to specify a name for this. So I'm going to give a name called fname. Say first name. Let me save this. And if I get back to my browser, let me remove this question mark and let's hit refresh. Okay, now I can type in my name. When I hit on submit button, you see we get the details over here. We have fname is equals to Fatah. Okay, so let me get back here and let me create a password field. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create a br tag, a line break. I'm going to type in another input. Type is a password. I'm going to give a name for this as password. Let me close this. So if I get back to my browser and let me hit refresh now, I'm going to get rid of this. Okay, so we have a name and a password. I'm going to set the username to Fatah and I'm going to set the password as 123. When I hit on submit button, check out what happens in the URL. We get the fname is equals to Fatah and the next field is actually connected with an ampersand sign. Then we have the name for the password, that is password, and then it is set to 123. But usually the password and the username has to be encrypted, right? We are not supposed to show that to the user. So what we need to do is, this is the part where we'll be using the post method. So if you set it to the post method, let me get rid of this thing now and let me try that again. So I'm going to say Fatah, I'm going to set it to 123. When I hit on submit button, see nothing happens. But when I try to refresh, I get an error message, a confirmation message actually. It says that this page seems to be having some kind of information. Do you want to continue or something like that? So I'm going to hit on cancel and instead now we'll have to hit refresh over here. Every website requires 3 different types of forms: a contact form, a login form, and a registration form. In this class, I'm going to show you how to create these 3 forms. So first, I'm going to create a contact form. So for that, let's create a form tag. I don't need any action over here. And now inside this, I'm going to create a table tag. And inside this table, let's create a tr and a td. So here will be the name. So I'll say name, give a column, just duplicate that, and that's going to be input. Type is text. I'm going to specify the name as c_name. So that will be the contact name. And we want it to be required. So the user has to fill in the data. He cannot skip it. Let's copy this one. Let's click on the next one. This is going to be email. And this will also become an email. So C email. Let's copy this one again. I'm going to set this one to a phone number. So I'm going to set this to phone. So the input type here becomes tel and c underscore tel, and that's required too. And we need to add a subject line, so I'm just going to paste this here, and this is going to be subject. So subject is a text, so I'm going to set this as text c sub. That's required too. So the next one is the message, so I'm just going to put in some details here to call this as message. And here the input field changes, so instead of specifying input, we'll be using a text area. So we'll say text area, specify the name as c underscore mass. I don't need an ID for this right now, and we can specify how many columns and how many rows you require. So we need around like 30 columns, and 10 rows is too much, so I'm going to set it to 5. Then I'm going to copy this one here, just copy that, then let's paste it over here. And I don't need any name, so I'm going to remove this, and this will become input type as submit, and this will be c send, so the user can send the details. I'm gonna get rid of this one. So let me copy this URL now and paste it in the Google Chrome browser. Let's see how that looks like. Okay, we have a contact form. Now usually we don't want a submit button here. What we need is a send message option. Let's get back to our code, and here what we can do is we can specify a value for this. We'll call this as send message. Let me save that. If I get back to my browser and if I hit refresh, I can see that has changed to send message. Okay, now let's create a login form. I'm going to save this one. Let me close this, and I'm going to get back to the login form.html, and here let's open a form tag. I don't need any action there. Now we can specify a table, the tr td, and I'll specify this as username. Let's duplicate that, and we'll type this as input, type is text, and we can specify the name as u underscore name. Okay, we need that, so that's going to be required. So let's copy this, and then let's paste it over here, and this will be password, and the input type will be password, and the name is going to be upass. That's going to be required too. I'm just going to copy this again. Let's paste it, and we don't need any name here, so I'm going to get rid of this. So let's say input type is submit, and here I'm going to set the name as ulogin, and we can set the value as login to continue. Okay, let's save this. I'm going to copy this URL here. Let's get back to our browser and paste it. Okay, we have the username and password, but check out what happens. I'm just going to type in my username as Fatah and password as 123. When I hit on login to continue, it's kind of showing me all the details. We need to hide those things. So let's get back to this one, and here we need to set this to the method as post. And if I get back to my browser now, and let me remove all these items. Okay, so now if I type Fatah and password as 123, and if I hit on login to continue, nothing shows up. But there's a small issue. See what happens when I directly hit on login to continue. If I directly click on this, it shows me that please fill out this field. So basically we are giving a kind of validation until and unless the user fills up the data, he will not be able to continue. Now this is happening because we have the required field set in. So this is very important. Don't let the input fields empty so that the user can just send you a blank information. If you require the complete information of the user, like his email ID, phone number, his address, like for example, if you have an e-commerce website and you want to ship some of the goods to his location, you need all those information. So for that thing, we'll be using a registration form. To do that, let's create a form. I'm going to remove this action, and here we'll create a table. Say tr and td. That's going to be the name of the person, and it will be a input type as text, and let's specify the name as r underscore name. That's the registration name. We need that. That's going to be required. Let me copy this. Let me paste it again, and this will be his email ID. So we'll call this as input type as email, our email. We need his email ID too. So let's copy this again, and we need a phone number. So I'm going to call this as phone. Input type is tel, and our phone. Okay, that's required too. So I'm just gonna copy this again, and then what we require is some extra information. For example, if this guy is registering, we need to set up a password for him. So we'll say password. So we'll call this as password. So this is going to be our pass. So the next thing what we require is a date of birth. So I'm just going to copy this, paste it over here. This is going to be DOB, that is date of birth, and the type it will be changed to date. So we'll say our date. Let's save that. And the next one what we need is his gender. So I'm going to paste this here. I'm going to call this as gender. Now in gender we can create a group of input. So I'm going to call this as input, type is radio, and I'm going to set this one to male. Let's give a BR tag. Let's type another one called input type as radio. I'm going to set this one to female. Okay, so what we need to do here is we need to specify the same name but a different value. So we'll say name is gender. I'm going to copy the same name for this, and then we can paste it over here, and then we to specify a different value. So we'll call this as male, and we'll call this one value as female. Okay, that should do it. Let me create a submit button and let us check how this actually looks like. So I'm just going to paste it here. I'm going to change this one to nothing. It's going to be blank, so this will be submit. So our date is going to be our reg. Okay, I'm going to remove this. We'll specify a value called register. I'm going to save that. Let's copy the URL. Let's go to our browser, select this one, and paste and refresh. Okay, so we have these details. So let me check out how this thing works. So I'm going to set the first name as Fatah, email as fathahgabriel@gmail.com, and my phone number, I'm going to set this as 1234567. Okay, password as 123, and I'm going to set my date of birth. I'm going to just select a random date, and now you can see what happens if I can select male or female. So I can choose only one. So if I hit on register, that should give me all the details I need. So see, everything is available here now. If I scroll a little bit ahead, I should be able to get gender. Okay, we got the gender as male. That's great. So the next one what we need is a select option where we can actually select the country. So I'm just going to copy this one, then paste it over here. I'm going to set this one to country. So I'm going to set this, I'm going to remove this, and now we have a new option called select, and this is going to be our country, and we don't need an ID here, so I'm going to get rid of this, and we do require this. I'm going to set this as required, and let's specify the option. Now each and every option will have a value, so we'll say India, and we'll set this one also as India. Let me duplicate this, select this one and this one. Okay, this is going to be like USA. We can change this one to Canada and stuff like that. Let's save this. Let's get back to our browser and hit refresh. I can see that we have a drop down. Great, we have built a complete registration page. When you're working with a document or a specific product, it usually happens that you might want to group some elements. For example, I'm going to create a simple product page which is going to display me the information of a laptop. So first thing what I need is an image. So I'm going to type in img and let's hold Control and spacebar. So inside that images I have a laptop. So I'm going to give an alt tag called laptop. And now what I need is I need some additional information. For example, the name of the laptop. I can give this as dummy laptop. Actually, I'm going to change this one to a h3 tag. Okay, then I need to specify the price of that specific item. So I'm going to use the delete tag, and then the previous price for this one was around 50,000. Okay, and what is the actual price now? So I need to specify that one too. So I'm going to give a space, and then I'm going to say INS, and now the price of this laptop is around 35,000. Okay, so I have the price of the laptop. The next one what I need is a simple button which can hold that data. So I'm going to create a anchor tag. I'm going to give a hash, and I'm going to give this as buy now. Now what if I want like multiple list of products? So let me show you how this thing looks like. I'm going to click here, say copy path, and let's go to a browser, and now I'm just going to replace this. Okay, so this is my product now, but this is like okay, but what if I want like multiple products? See, this is where grouping of elements comes in part. So what I can do is I can select all this, cut it, and put it inside a div tag. So a div tag is basically a division tag. It's a block element. It's an empty element, so inside that you can add anything you like. So now I can have multiple groups of these items. So let's just say I want around 3 laptops. I can just copy and paste this. So now if I go back to my browser and hit refresh, you can see I have product 1, product 2, and then I have product 3. Basically, there are two types of media when we are working with HTML. We have video and we have audio. So I'm going to show you how to add a video inside your HTML tag. So all you have to do is just type in video. Now we do not have an source over here, so instead we have a source tag which you can add in. So inside this you can specify the src. Now hold control and hit spacebar, and you can see that we have a media folder. Inside this I'm going to choose this one. So once I select this, now you can copy this file path, and I'm going to go to the browser, just paste it over here, and then hit refresh. Okay, so we got the poster of the image. So if I have to play this video, all I have to do is right click here and then click on show controls, and then I can play the video. But the problem here is I don't want to do that. So in case if I do this, I want the controls to be available when I launch the website. So what I will do is we'll go to our code, and here all you have to do is just type in controls. Let's save that one and get back to your browser. Now hit refresh. Now you can see that we have the player right here. So I'm going to click on play, and you can see that video is now playing. Okay, now let's see how we can add a audio tag inside our web page. So I'm going to go back to my code. Now here right after this I'm going to use an audio tag. Now again, we do not have an src over here, so instead we need to specify the source, and inside this I'm going to specify src and hold control and hit on spacebar. I'm going to go to media and choose this audio. Let me save that. If I get back to my browser and if I hit refresh, you can see I don't see anything. That's because my controls are not available. So let me just add the controls, save this, get back to my browser. If I hit refresh, I can see that we have the audio right over here. So I can play this and I will have the audio. Iframes are basically called as internet frames. The whole idea of using iframe is getting a completely different website which is outside to show or display into your website. I'm going to show you how to create a simple iframe. Just type in iframe and you will have these options. So we have set the frame border by default to 0. I'm going to set the source to https://www.sinformatic.com. Now many of the websites do not allow iframing their website into your website, so most of the websites are disabled. So if you try this by your own and if you don't get the result, that's completely fine. You can try this website, it usually works. And let me save this, and if I go to my browser here and if I refresh now, so we have got the other website which was loaded here. And let me get back here, and now what we can do is we can specify width and height for this. I'm going to specify the width has to be around 500 pixels, and I want the height to be around 700 pixels. Let me save this, and if I get back to my browser and if I hit refresh, you can see that the same size will be loaded in our site. Okay, so we have got the mobile version of zinformatic.com. So there are many other websites which have iframes in their domain. For example, you have YouTube and you have Google Maps. I'm going to show you how you can integrate YouTube and Google Maps into your site too. So what we'll do is we'll create a new document over here. I'm going to call this as frames. So I'll call this as iframes, frames.html. Okay, and what we'll do is we're going to create a HTML5 document, and now first what we'll do is we'll try to integrate a YouTube video. So let me get back to the browser. I'm gonna open YouTube. Great, our YouTube is now loaded. Now you can see that there's a Mr. Bean video. Let me integrate this one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open this. So now we have this video. What we need to do is we need to integrate this into our site. So what we'll do is we'll simply right click here, and you can copy the embed code, or you can scroll down and you'll have the share button here. So let me click on the share, and you can see there's an embed option here too. So you can click on this embed. Now just copy this entire code, get back to your site and paste it here. Now that gives you a very lengthy code, but that's completely fine. You can see here it also has the width and height of that video. So let me save this, copy this path, get back here to our document. I'm going to remove this and paste with this one. The next one we'll see how we can create a Google Maps, how we can integrate Google Maps into our site. So let's go to maps.google.com, and I'm going to look for a famous place like Taj Mahal. Okay, so let's just say this Taj Mahal hotel, I want to integrate this into my site. So what we'll do is we'll click on share, and there is an embed option. You can click on this embed option, so you can see that it is showing us the Taj Mahal hotel code, and this is the iframe which we are supposed to put it in our site. Let's copy this. Let's get back to our code, and instead of this code I'm going to paste our maps. Let me save this. You can see this also has width and height predefined. You can see this, we have width and height predefined. You can change that if you want to, and this is our embed code. And let me save this. Let's get back to our browser, and now to our document and refresh, and you can see now we have Google Maps in our site. HTML5 by default has a block element holder for images. It's called figure tag. Let's see how that works. So what we have to do is just type in figure, and inside that we need to specify an img tag, and this will be our source. So hold Control and spacebar, and we need to get inside this. I'm going to use then laptop as my image. I'm going to call this as laptop, and then we have a fig caption. So you can say fig caption, and inside that we can specify what is that image is all about. So you can say a simple laptop. Now I can save this, copy the path, and get back to my browser. I have seen so many people have their websites, and inside their website they have a FAQ page, and each and every FAQ page have kind of like a drop down kind of thing. So they have a specific question and they answer that question inside a small box which is hidden by default. Even Google integrated the FAQ schema tag in their site. So using an FAQ page into your site has become a very important task now. So we'll see how we can create that with the help of details tag. So what we'll have to do is here I'm going to create a details tag. Okay, just open a tag called details. Okay, inside that now we need to specify the summary. So I'll say summary, and this will be a question. For example, which class is this? And then we need to specify the answer. So I'm going to use the div tag here, and whatever comes after the summary is kind of hidden. So I'm going to use a paragraph tag, say this is a HTML and CSS class. Okay, let's copy the same thing and I'm gonna paste another one right after this. What can you do with HTML and CSS? So you can build a website. So I'll specify that you can build a website. Okay, let me save that. And what we can do now is we can copy this path. Let's go back to our browser, just paste it here and refresh. Now you can see that we have two questions which says which class is this and what can you do with HTML and CSS. If I click on this one, see it kind of dropped down, so it gives me those options. It's more like a collapsible panel, and you can switch it on and off to display the data and again hide it. We're going to use HTML5 semantic elements to create our complete web page. If you can see here, we have already downloaded some images here. So if I open this, you can see there is one image slider. If I click on this, yeah, this is my banner image, and I have downloaded two images like that. And then I have a logo which I'll be using in my site. So let me close that. And now we're going to use all the HTML5 semantic elements, and we're going to also use most of the HTML elements to create our web page. So let's get started. Let's build our site. So what we're going to do is, first thing, we're going to create a div tag to group all our content in one place. And inside that, I'm going to use a header tag. And once we create the header tag, I'm going to use a div tag again. And inside this, we are going to create a logo. So that will be my image tag. That's going to be img. And hold Control and spacebar. So we need to get our logo over there. I'm going to call this as logo. Okay, save this. Now if I copy this page path and get back to my browser, paste it and run this. Okay, we can see that we have our image, but if I click this, I need to navigate back to my home page. This is my home page currently. So I'm going to get back over here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this and put this inside an anchor tag which connects to my page. So this is my page. Inside this, I'm going to add this. Okay, after this, I'm going to create another div tag, and inside that, I'm going to create a form tag. Now this is for my search bar. So I'm going to remove this action here, and I'm going to specify a input type is search. So this is for my search bar. I'm going to create a name for this, call this as S, and then we'll specify a input type as submit. I'm going to specify some value, so I'm going to give a value for this as just like this. Save this. Now if I get back to my browser and if I hit on refresh, you can see I have a search bar, and I can also click on this button to search whatever I'm looking for. But we need a placeholder here. So I'm going to get back to my code. In the input type search, give a placeholder. I'm going to call this as search site and 3 dots. Save that, and if I get back to my browser and hit refresh, okay, so we have the header portion. Now that we have created our elements which we require inside the head, we need another element inside the head portion, that is our navigation bar. So right after this, I'm going to create a nav tag, and inside this we'll use a UL tag, and it will have a list of items, and inside that we'll have an anchor tag. I'm going to right now give it as hash. It's a blank tag, but we're going to fill items when we are working on a complete website. So I'm going to call this as home, and inside this we'll have about, and then we're going to have services. Let's create another one. We'll call this as products, and then we will have contact. Okay, I think 5 pages are more than enough. So inside the services, so when somebody clicks on the service, when they take the cursor on the service, we need around a drop down. So I'm just going to click here, and I'm going to use another UL, say li with an anchor tag hash. I'll call this as service 1. Just going to duplicate this, say call service 2, duplicate this again, we'll call this as service 3. Then save this. If I get back to my browser and if I hit refresh, okay, that is our navigation bar. So if you can see, our header portion kind of looks very confusing because we don't know which element is going which side. So it is always a good idea to use comments inside your HTML to so that you can easily understand what's going on. So this is my header, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a comment here. I'm going to call this as header. Okay, let me just copy this one, and this will be my navigation bar. Okay, so if I can select this, see everything is selected. This is my search bar, and this is my logo. So I'm just going to place this here and call this as okay. So now we know which is inside which one. So once my header portion is done, I'm going to create a section tag, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a banner inside. So we need around 2 images. We already have it here. I'm going to call this as img and hold Ctrl and spacebar. So inside images, I want the first one. I'm going to call this as banner 1. Just duplicate that, and I'm going to get rid of this, and this will be banner 2. So I'm going to save this one. If I get back to my browser, now before that, let me just add a comment here. We'll call this as banner slider. Save that. Let's get back to our browser. Now hit refresh. Now you should be able to see 2 huge big images right over here. Now that our banner slider is built, we need to create the next section for holding the content. So after this header, I'm going to give a space, and again a space here, and this one we're going to create another section, and inside that section we will have an article tag. Okay, so usually inside articles you need to have a heading and a paragraph, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a main tag inside, and inside this is where I will have my heading. So I'm going to call this as lorem, and what we can do is we can choose only a little bit of the heading. We don't need the entire thing. So I'm going to get rid of all this extra text here. So let me get rid of this, and let's get back. Okay, so we have the first heading, and after this I'm going to create a paragraph. So let's call this as lorem, and I want around 2 times repeated. So let's get back, and I need to break this. So let me break this in separate lines. Okay, that's a huge paragraph, I guess. Okay, great. We have this one. So what we can do now is I can just duplicate this to get me another 2 paragraphs. I'm just going to copy this and paste it here, and this one is just going to be the double of the size. I'm just going to paste it here. Okay, so this is my content, and let me save this. Let me get back to the browser. Let's see how that looks. If I hit refresh, if I can scroll down, you can see this is my content available in the browser. The next step for us would be to add a sidebar to our page. So if you can see this, this is the section which we created. So this is actually a content holder. Let me add that. I'm going to call this as content holder. Just copy this line and paste it here. Okay, and this is the content. I'll call this as content, and just copy this one and paste it here. So after the content, I need to add a sidebar. This is basically a sidebar. So what we'll do is, once we have this aside, inside that I'm going to create a div which will have a h3 tag. I'm going to call this as a widget. It can be any kind of widget, like who's the post author, or the information of when the post was posted, or the recent articles which has been posted, all those things. Okay, so let me save this, and inside this we can specify the unordered list li with an a tag. So this is the list where it comes. So I can say the articles from 2018 to 2019, 2020, so more like this. Okay, so this is a sidebar, so I'm just going to name this as sidebar. Okay, just save this thing, just copy this and paste it here. Okay, so let's see how that looks like in our page. So I'll get back here, hit refresh. You can scroll down, see we have our widget. Okay, since we have added the sidebar, let me just separate this a little bit. Okay, this is my content, so I'm just gonna give a space and some space here. This is my sidebar, and this is my content. Let's create our footer. So I'm just going to give another space, So footer, you have just footer tag, and inside that we have an div tag, and inside this we will create a h3 tag. I will call this as footer menu. We don't have a menu yet, so I'm just going to give some dummy links here. So say hash, we'll call this as home, about, services, products, and then finally we have a contact thing. So basically we need around 4 footers. So I'm just going to copy this and just place this on like 3 more times. On the 4th time, like once you have this 1, 2, 3 and the 4th one, this one I'm going to change this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove this, and instead of this I will have an address tag. So inside this we can specify the header address like hash 100. I can say someplace, somewhere far, and then we can specify the pin code like 54654. It doesn't matter. Let's save that, and after this one what we're going to do is actually we're gonna cut this one and put it inside the paragraph tag. Okay, so I'm going to add another one, and this is going to be an anchor tag. I'm going to use a mail to link, so this is going to open directly the mail over there. So say mail to, and I will say contact at someone.com. Save that, and now what we can do is we can add another one, say ahref, say tell, and I can give a column. I can give some phone number here, and the same phone number will be repeated here. Okay, let's save that. So let's see how this thing looks like in our page, but before that let me just comment this so that I would remember what that is. So this is the footer. I just copied this one, just paste it here. And if I get back to my browser and if I hit refresh, you can see I have footer menu 3 and I have the address also. I can't see the email thing, so let me get back here. So this is the email, so I'm just going to copy this, then I'm going to paste it over here. So I can save this, now hit refresh. Okay, so we have the mail option. So if I click on this, that's going to open my default email ID. That's default mail program. So I'm just going to close this. As the final piece of the puzzle, we need to specify the copyrights for our page. So what I'm going to do is right after this, I'm going to create a div, and inside that I'm going to use a paragraph tag. I'll say copyright, say ampersand copy, copy, and make sure to give a semicolon there. So it's going to be 2020, all rights reserved. Okay, I think that's enough. So you can save this. Now I can get back to your browser and you can check it out here how that looks. Okay, so we have it. So basically I want to make it a bit smaller, so what I'm going to do is we're going to cut this thing and put it inside a small tag. So if I save this, get back to the browser, and if I hit refresh, okay, that looks smaller now.